Okay, there we go. Now I can see and hear you. That was cute. It swapped up. I couldn't hear you, or I couldn't talk to you, and then I could only hear you and couldn't. All right, we're good.
You're using, mobile tech. I'm using a computer, so I'm always going to have a easier cut in and out. Bear with me. How much time do you have available?
I'd say I have probably like 10, 15 minutes, and if we can. All right, so what I'm trying to set up here is the basis to kind of like the podcast thing, to where the animated characters I'm trying to figure out and how to line all that stuff up. So if we want to make this usable, we can like burn like 10, 15 minutes where it's kind of like the intro to your podcasts, you know what I mean? Because this will be the first time they're going to see the representation of you. So if we wanted to bounce it back and forth, like, like what can your guests expect to get from your podcast? How often are you trying to, release, like once a week, a couple times a week or something like that, those different types of things that they talk about in the beginning.
Okay. Getting the logistics down. Well, I think as a whole there will probably be a daily episode, regardless of the length, and at a certain point I know that...
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I haven't started recording or anything else. I need to be ready on my end when we're going to actually start it. I wanted to preposition that first before my end was recording and everything, so I didn't have to do a bunch of editing. So if that format's good, are you cool to...
Yes.
Okay.
Dustin, any decision
that you... to that then is, I didn't want to start it off as being an interview, almost like to you. If you don't want it like that, or if it doesn't matter, I can ask you like 4 or 5 questions. Or if you want me to like take a picture right now and send it in Hangouts of the things, so the questions, and then you can just say them to... You know what I mean? Like I didn't know what format you want to go with that.
Well, first let's check off the first thing you hit. Anytime that you have a decision coming to the table in the morning, I need no consciousness in that. You're the executive producer. You make executive decisions. So if you already have a point, bring that point, because I'm just going to reverberate that and turn it up. So yes on that.
All right.
As for the questioning, I like both routes that you're taking. I think we are probably going to get better results from me not knowing the questions up front and doing it interview style that way, since it won't happen very often.
Perfect. No, I wanted to do that too. I just want to make sure that wasn't in conflict with anything you were trying to do with the overall image of it.
Right now, I want to do a daily V style where I want an episode every day. At a certain point, you won't be there, but that's after the habits built in, and then I'll actually have an episode a week that is really, the highlight of it itself. But I want to create content on a scale where let's just make the expectations so difficult that greatness is a side effect.
Alrighty, cool, hell yeah. All right.
And I'm good when you are.
All right, I am hitting record now, so I guess I'm already hitting record now, so I'll be editing. The other day, so we just started off as, I think, like, introduction type thing? Does that sound about right? Or
yes, I see a lot of introductions being put on at the after the fact, because it's a synapsis, or the other thing you're referring to is that standard, hey, welcome to the TMC project where XYZ. That is also something that can technically be, I can either say it live every time we call, or it's just an audio clip that gets put attached into the beginning. Once it's its own audio clip, it's very easy to do. What do you think what do you want to go with?
I was gonna say, if you want, I'll just take the one right now and figure we'll
Sweet. I understand. You need
dub it,
you need
and then
V1.
we'll just upgrade it until we have one that's formatted and fits the title screen that leads in and all that stuff standard.
Okay, so it seems like I'm hearing a clean handoff. Let me kind of give you the 3 handoffs real quick. You have an outcome. I'm going to answer that outcome without any follow-up questions. At that point, we have V1 materials that, 1, I'll be unsatisfied with. 2, it'll give you a baseline to do your greatness, and then we'll know on the other side of that, whatever that that back forth.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to shoot for 3 p.m. will be by 3 p.m. I'll have submitted it to you, and then at that point you'll have it available for release. I just need to have a little time to fuck with it and everything once we get done.
Yeah, play is always fun. I feel you on that one. The TMC project is a journey of me trying to gain financial freedom and personal greatness. I realize that time is the real measurement of success, and the only way you can really become what you want to or really desire to is to have that time freedom to really focus on it, as well as trying to help anyone and everyone who's interested in their own personal greatness, or at least achieving getting more free time to do what drives them and what makes them fulfilled.
That sounds good. So what would you say your guests could expect to get from you regularly?
A real, wow, you say real first, doesn't work. An unedited, honest opinion of where I am and what is going on a level that I think most people aren't used to. When it comes to interviews, talking to minds that interest me, because if you're interested in my journey, there's no question that you won't be interested in the people I'm talking to, because I'm only standing on the shoulders of giants. I have no base knowledge. I only have other people's knowledge built through my creativity to make it mine.
Nice. That definitely sounds fully complete there. Sweet. Now, just on the other end of that, what exactly would be being delivered to your listeners? Do you think they'll have anything that they'll be able to take away or use in their day-to-day?
It seems like no matter what, it will be entertaining. My entire life, people have enjoyed listening and hearing my thoughts and expressions on life and what I've learned. Finding the minimum viable dosage for all the personal development and self-reliance things. I know that everything I do, I do in a way where it takes minimal action with maximum results, and they work for everyone. It's the recipe was built for me because of where I am on the ADHD continuum. However, I'm just hyperhuman. I have the flaws of everyone, and I have the benefits of everyone, but I have a real difficulty doing anything, taking any action, and I believe I've found the cheat codes to making life really great and not having to do any hard work that's not interesting, but rather finding the inaction and the subtraction that really allows the freedom to grow.
No, I love it. Sounds good. And I heard in there you had mentioned the ADHD. What other subjects do you think you'll be covering here on the TMC project?
That's always a fun one since it's such a wide open question. My mind goes on so many tracks at once, but when I really consider it, philosophy is a huge one. Thinking about how we think is probably one of the first real steps to mindfulness. I also want to talk about just the daily struggles of suffering and growth and being a good dad. And I forgot the question, and I don't think I was answering it.
No, actually, you were. It sounded really good. I had mentioned that. Actually, the question fell off on my end too. That's cute because that was a follow-up to what I already had for you, and it sounded good. So we can go ahead to the next one.
Nice.
So, okay, there we go. I can bring it back. As far as the topics or subjects that you'll be covering during the podcast, you had mentioned the family, the struggles, and as far as the ADHD and just having that, with you throughout, your daily life. And so I know, too, off air, we've also mentioned or discussed diet and the exercise and what will be available on your site as well. Do you want to give any further about what's available on your site?
Thank you so much for narrowing it down. And I believe I can better answer the previous question a little better. You will find everything that my attention finds interesting through my creative process, which is very wide, but can probably narrow down to three things: the body, spirit, and mind. And by body, I really do mean controlling your diet and understanding the natural urges of being human and what we live through. Which for me, one of the largest ones is the need to survive, which is where hunger comes from, and it's where the desire to grow comes from. And those are body. Those are things we can't really fully understand because they're subconscious, but they're always affecting us. In regards to the mind, because of the attention deficit, it's not uncommon for me to have simultaneous trains of thought running, and because of that, I fold a lot of ideas into each other. And specifically on the website, I believe it's probably easiest for me to make diet content when it comes to anything other than verbal, because it's real salient in my mind right now. It's very top level, so I can pull that information very reflexively. And I believe that diet is probably the quickest route for me to really show someone the beneficial effects that I can give them specifically, but more provide them with the tools to give them the next stage of their personal evolution.
I love it. That all sounds good. So with that, how often would your listeners expect to, or how often would they expect to hear from you? Is that like once a week? How do you think you're going to release on that front?
Right now, since failure is always an option, but it's never an excuse, my current goal is to do a 30-day challenge of recording every day and posting it, whether edited or unedited. So that way I'm realizing what I'm trying to do, because right now we're in the metaphysical. We're asking what I think and what I feel I want, but the body has to realize it. And then from there, I think the mind will really start to sort and find out what's best. I believe a weekly probably 4 episodes a month and one interview, one of those being an interview, will be the formal format. However, the daily blogging and journaling of my life, I want to keep as often as possible, since to see where I am at all times is the best way to see how I am at all times.
Nice, love it. All right, now I guess kind of a slightly off the flow question, but just going, you had mentioned riding on the shoulders of greats. Is there any, I guess, anyone that you would mention that where I guess you're coming from, or where they would expect to, have the same flow? I know I've heard you personally talk about Gary V, but are there any, I guess, takeaways on that end where your audience would be looking?
Yes. The one that comes to mind strongest as we speak is Robert Kiyosaki. He wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I read it when I was 17. I'm 32 now, so it's more than half a life ago, and it really opened up my eyes to understanding the difference between being employed and employing yourself and really escaping the rat race. It was the first person who connected financial freedom with time freedom, and it has changed my life, and anyone who has read that book would be interested in hearing my philosophies against it. When it comes to Gary V, there's just no person who's giving a raw level of honesty that the only emotion that expresses it honestly is envy. And I love that, because envy gives me a desire to be more and do more. I have no disdain for what he's doing. I'm only jealous that I'm not doing it at his level, and I take the challenge. Even if it's many failures in the process, that's why it's challenging. Some of the other, really, if anyone in the personal development sphere or the financial independence realms really speak to me, because those give you the freedoms to go after your personal interests, as well as I love marketing, and I love owning a small business and helping others. So as influencers and authorities in those fields become significant, I want to let my audience know about them, because if I'm learning from them, I want everyone else to have the same opportunity as me.
That's definitely awesome. All right. Well, it looks like that's going to wrap up our first podcast here. I am out of questions, and definitely ready to give this one a rip, and excited to see how this comes out.
I love it. I had 7 minutes from the 2 earlier conversations, and this is 8 minutes. I will probably post this one raw and unedited as the episode 3, and the other earlier conversation we had some really interesting content that I don't remember, so I'm going to find out what I gleaned from that, but the whole 7 minutes was kind of interesting, so we'll see.
Sweet. Yeah, on my end, I have 10 minutes at this point, and I'll have plenty to be able to take those 2 channels and put them together. So whenever you are available, sir, if you want to take your audio file and just email it over to me, and I'm going to jump on that shortly.
Okay, I've got a down to name the list off of the steps to get it done. Let me let you go, kill my recording, and start sending the audio track to you.
Awesome. Be good, brother.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate the baseline for us to start off of. Thank you.
Fuck yeah.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Later on.